fellow nation.
Our film focuses on Rebecca Belmore.
And the piece that we're going to focus on is The Vigil, Named and Unnamed.
She was Canada's one representative in the 2005 Fest Biennale, which is a pretty significant spot to hold, because there's only one for all of Canada.
Yeah.
Rebecca Belmore was born in 1960, an interdisciplinary Anishinaabe Canadian artist. She had been confronting audiences with elegant, haunting, and provocative works of art addressing the politics of representation, history, memory, and place. Her performances, sculptures, videos, photographs, and installations evoke the connection between body, land, and language, and the violence that colonialism has enacted upon them, and counterpoints to stereotypes about First Nations people and highlighting unresolved burdens of social justice.
Rebecca Belmore performed The Named and Unnamed on the corner of Gore and Cordova Avenue in Vancouver, BC on June 23rd in 2002. This was focused on about 60 women who have gone missing in the downtown east side of Vancouver. Belmore confronts us with the loss and struggle and silence of these missing women. She starts off her performance by scrubbing the pavement on her hands and knees. After finishing that, she then lights candles one by one and slowly starts to integrate the audience into this by inviting someone to come do it while she continues on with her performance. After yelling each name, she grabs the roses and puts the stem in her mouth and pulls it through her teeth, ripping off the thorns, the leaves, and the rose head. She then puts on a red dress and goes to the closest telephone pole and nails the red dress to the telephone pole and tries to rip herself off of it. Each time by doing this, a chunk of the red dress is left on the telephone pole. She continues to do this until the dress is basically gone. I do like the fact, though, too, that she's not only thinking about current problems, but how to, she's linking kind of historical problems into the now, right? So it's not two separate things, that they're still interconnected.
Residential schools were government-sponsored religious schools that were established to assimilate Aboriginal children into Euro-Canadian culture. The system started in about 1867, and the last federally operated school closed in about 1996. Students never stood a chance at being able to grasp what a normal life could be, for non-First Nations children or in their own culture. Being pulled in two very different directions left children very confused and traumatized. Never having a strong sense of family, feeling loved, or being emotionally stable undoubtedly showed later in life and has echoed for generations. It's reasonable to speculate that the unresolved intergenerational trauma experienced by First Nations people is a lasting legacy of the residential school system, and it has been a contributing factor to the missing and murdered Indigenous women of the downtown east side that has been so prominent in the mass media in recent years and in Rebecca Belmore's work.
This is what my work's about, and now I'm holding you guys responsible. You know what's happening, you know what's going on in the downtown east side, and you have to do something about it because this work is out here now. RCMP statistics released in 2014 shows that Indigenous women are 4 times more likely to be murdered than non-Indigenous women. Racism and sexism are contributing factors to the present attitude that is taking place in connection to missing and murdered Indigenous women. Decades of government policy, cultural genocide has fragmented Indigenous communities, making Indigenous women vulnerable to exploitation and abuse. In today's Eurocentric patriarchy, Indigenous women are still fighting to regain the influence and power that they once had. Rebecca Belmore's confrontational style and her portrayal of the social injustices that Indigenous women face have given her an international reputation. Pushing boundaries as well as combining traditional storytelling into her work has changed the landscape and perception of female Indigenous art in Canada.
I think it's quite interesting how she always puts herself in most of her work anyways too. There's a bigger message to her.
Yeah, ripping thorns through your mouth. Can you imagine how much that would hurt?
That would hurt a lot.
Even with when I read that, I was like, ugh.
Yeah. Right, and saying that there's a problem, she's actually showing that there's a problem, and using current technology as well, right? That's a big impact nowadays.
Yeah.
So you can look up stuff on YouTube, you said, you can Google it, right? There's, it's important to use what we have now to make your message. about is like how physically exhausted she would have been by the end of that.
Oh yeah.
Like by scrubbing and tearing the dress off the telephone pole and like doing that part of it.
Like, I don't know if you guys saw it in that, I don't know which video, like, I don't know if there's a different copy, but in the end of the video that I watched, she just, like, gets in a truck, like a mysterious truck,
But
and
it's so
drives
perfect
away.
'cause it's so reminiscent of how these women went missing, right?
Yeah.
Totally, but it's so creepy, and
Yeah.
you're like, all of a sudden the reality kind of hits you as, oh, okay, this is an art piece, but this is life, like, this
Yeah.
happens, like, oh, scary.